All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into one of the most influential and intense religious books ever written by an American author, The Great Controversy, by Ellen G. White. This book reframes literally all of human history as one single, epic conflict. Let's get into it. Right from the jump, the book does something really interesting. It takes this massive, cosmic story and grounds it in a deeply personal question. You see, it's not just about wars between nations or heavenly battles. It's about the internal struggle happening inside every single one of us. This one question sets the stage for everything else, making this universal battle something we all have a stake in.
Okay, so first up, a cosmic conflict. What exactly is this controversy the book is talking about? Well, the entire premise, the whole shebang, rests on one powerful, all-encompassing idea.
According to the author, everything, and I mean everything, from the rise and fall of empires to the small struggles of our daily lives, is just a scene in a much larger cosmic drama. And the central issue? It's a battle over the character of God. Is he really just? Is he loving? Is his law actually good for us? This idea becomes the lens through which the book interprets the past, the present, and the future.
From that big cosmic idea, the story then zooms right into human history, framing the medieval period as a critical battleground for truth. This is what it calls the battle for the Bible.
The book portrays this era as this huge fight over authority. On one side, you have the Bible, held up as the only true rule of faith, and on the other, you have human traditions. The book argues that these traditions were actually used to suppress the Bible itself. It claims that for hundreds of years you couldn't even get your hands on the scriptures, which let church leaders interpret things however they wanted to, hold on to their power.
So what happens when the Bible gets sidelined? According to the book, a whole bunch of what it calls errors started creeping into the faith. You know, things like the belief that humans are naturally immortal, which then opened the door to praying to saints, or the idea of purgatory, which was then used to justify selling indulgences. You can kind of see how one idea snowballs into the next.
But the story isn't just about problems, it's also about the pushback. And that brings us to our next section, the heroes of the Reformation. These are the people the book holds up as champions who fought to bring the Bible back to the forefront.
The book lays out this incredible chain of resistance, like a torch being passed down through the centuries. It starts way back with groups like the Waldenses, who are hiding out in the mountains, secretly preserving the Bible in their own language while being heavily persecuted. Then comes John Wycliffe in England and John Huss in Bohemia, each one picking up that torch, building on what came before, and all of it leading to the world-shaking stand of Martin Luther.
And this quote from John Huss, wow, it really gets to the core of what these figures believed. So get this, he's in prison, literally about to be burned at the stake. And he has this dream where he sees the pictures of Christ he'd painted being erased by his enemies, only to be repainted by others in even brighter colors. For him, this was a prophecy, a sign that the truth he was dying for could never truly be destroyed.
This whole section of history really climaxes with Martin Luther. Just picture the scene. He's standing before the most powerful rulers in all of Europe, and they're demanding he take back everything he's written. And his response? I'll give you my life, but the word of God, never. In the book's telling, this is the moment the ground shifts. The word of God becomes the unshakable foundation for the entire Reformation.
Okay, so we've been in the old world, but now the narrative takes a huge leap across the Atlantic. We're moving on to America and prophecy. Because according to this story, the United States isn't just another country. It has a starring role in the final act of this controversy. And this is where history starts to merge with prophecy. So the central question the book poses is this: what is America's part to play in this massive cosmic conflict?
Well, the book's answer is complicated. It says America has two prophetic faces. On the one hand, it started as a beacon of liberty, a place of refuge founded on these amazing principles of a government without a king and a faith based on the Bible. But then, the book makes a pretty shocking prediction. It says this same nation will eventually speak as a dragon and create something it calls an image to the beast, basically using its government power to force religious laws on people.
So what on earth is this image? The book is very specific. It's not the original power, but a system that mirrors it. It predicts that Protestant churches in America will eventually lose their way and will turn to the government for help to enforce their own doctrines, especially the universal observance of Sunday.
And this leads to probably the most famous and maybe most misunderstood part of the book's prophecy, the mark of the beast. Now, forget everything you've seen in the movies. The book says it's not a microchip or a tattoo. It's simply a choice of allegiance. The argument is that the papacy changed God's law by switching the Sabbath to Sunday. So when a law is passed that forces everyone to honor Sunday, your choice, obey the man-made law or God's original command, that becomes the mark of who you're really loyal to.
This whole conflict over which day to worship, well, it sets the stage for the final events of the Great Controversy. This is where things get really intense. It's called the final deception.
Here's the sequence the book lays out. First, a worldwide law forces Sunday worship on everyone. If you refuse, you're basically an enemy of the state. This kicks off what the book calls a time of trouble, a period of intense anguish and persecution for those who resist. And it's right at this moment of maximum desperation that Satan makes his final, ultimate move.
And this is the crowning deception. Satan himself appears, but he doesn't look like a monster. No, he shows up as this majestic, beautiful being of dazzling light, looking just like the descriptions of Christ. He performs miracles, he heals the sick, he speaks words of love, and the whole world shouts, "Christ is come!" And then, this being endorses the Sunday law and condemns anyone who resists it. It's presented as the final, almost impossible test of faith.
But the book doesn't end in darkness. Just as things look their absolute bleakest, the narrative flips to the grand finale, a universe restored. This is the final deliverance, the ultimate resolution.
After all that deception and struggle, the book paints this incredible picture of a restored universe. It uses this language to describe a future where all the things that cause pain and suffering are just gone, wiped away, completely impermanent.
The final resolution is total. Sin is eradicated, the earth is made new, and maybe most importantly, God's character, His justice and His love are finally vindicated for the whole universe to see. The entire terrible history of the conflict becomes an eternal lesson, ensuring that sin can never, ever rise again.
And it all comes down to this: two short, powerful sentences that wrap up the entire cosmic saga. The Great Controversy is ended. The entire universe is clean. Period. End of story.
So from a small battle raging in the human heart to a cosmic war that spans all of time, the Great Controversy presents this complete, all-encompassing worldview. It's a massive idea, and it leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. What does it really mean to see the world through this lens? To view all of history, all of our current events, and even our own lives as part of a single, epic conflict between good and evil? That's what this book asks us to consider.